Postal 2's hardest difficulty is absurd. Cranking the dial up to ludicrous puts the player at an outrageous disadvantage, as every character in the game is immediately hostile.
Hey, you!
They can also carry any of the game's many weapons, some of which can kill with a single hit. Ammo is limited, items restore less health, you only get one save per zone, but still, we persevere. With 2 days now under our belt, we move into Wednesday. Monday was a relatively gentle intro to ludicrous difficulty. The challenge was set high, but the tasks were quite simple. Tuesday would stretch the distance between its errands, but our power level has swelled significantly thanks to the acquisition of a few key weapons and an ever-expanding base of knowledge. Wednesday pushes the travel requirement to its maximum, having 2 of its errands on the complete opposite ends of the map. First order of the day is to return to the church, this time to the burials behind it, so the postal dude can relieve himself on his father's grave. Second, we'll play our part in democracy and cast our vote at the polls, which is being held where else but the local Chinese eatery. Finally, we'll wander through the forests in search of the perfect Christmas tree. The items that are immediately accessible to us are the same as Tuesday, a bass sniffer and some dynamite at the dude's trailer, as well as the body armor, pistols, and gasoline in the house next door. As all of the grenades from the previous day have been depleted, scouring the local area for other weapons and items is priority number 1. Heading over this little ridge and descending to the house below, there is a hand axe embedded in a tree. The hand axe, like most edged weapons, is useful for its ability to dismember and decapitate NPCs. The major drawback, one that it shares with the incredible sledgehammer, is that attacks can be blocked by enemies. Across the street, there is also a medicine dealer's house. But since ludicrous difficulty makes standard transactions impossible, we won't be buying anything. Enter the building, avoiding the sightlines of other residents. Move quietly into this bedroom, then preemptively swing the sledgehammer to take out this enemy inside before they can start firing. This room has many valuables, multiple weapons, a health pipe, a stack of cash, and most importantly, a large pile of grenades. Using stealth and precision fingering, head back towards the dude's trailer and move into the sewer pipe behind it. As was the case with days prior, there are a few easy items here to grab, but this time we will continue through the sewer instead of retreating. Several factors make this area extra challenging. There is a distinct imbalance of defenses. Since most enemies are higher up, they generally have more cover and a superior line of sight. This railing does not offer much in the way of defense. There are also certain thresholds that, when crossed, will trigger enemies to rush towards the player. So why do this? Why go this route? The answer to that question is actually on the large sign when entering the sewer. The shortest route to the cemetery is through this segment. It is easier and more straightforward to fight through a fortification defended by dozens of terrorists than it is to travel above ground. The pistol is the best bet when trying to clear out this outer layer of enemies. Its precision and damage per shot is unparalleled, and is currently our best option when it comes to long distance targets. There is an explosive barrel on the lower level that will also deal a ton of splash damage to everyone on the platform and should definitely be utilized. After clearing all visible targets, it should be safe to move towards the door. This will trigger 2 NPCs to run out towards you, but tossing a grenade here before the door is breached will do the trick. Inside, there are several more enemies on the upper level ready to fire down at you. On the right, past this medkit, this door leads to an explosive barrel platform, which will now have some corpses and any items that said corpses might have dropped. Additionally, there are 2 more medkits on the wall. Moving through the area at the bottom of the stairs will trigger another event, spawning an enemy outside of the building up on the sewer pipes. Fight through a few more enemies upstairs, and make sure to grab the extra weapon pickups and a stockpile of grenades on top of these boxes. Moving through this corridor will spawn more NPCs that mostly come single file, until we reach the exit pipe, which leads to the cemetery. From here, we can either go straight ahead under the bridge, moving through this bank to find a sledgehammer if you didn't get one on Tuesday. Otherwise, we can progress to the right. Grab the machine pistol in this small blue box, head across the train tracks, and move into the Hazardous waste storage facility. This facility is more akin to a dump site, with barrels piled high and strewn about all over the place. The pool of toxic sludge in the middle is near lethal to the touch, and expels noxious fumes endlessly. There is a few enemies in this area, but moving slowly and keeping your distance with the pistol will make short work of them. Climb up onto this barrel and hop across the roof to grab a small stockpile of ammo and pick off any remaining targets. Jump down and top up your health on the 3 medkits in this shack, and then grab the gasoline on the side. Carefully move across the chemical spill and head to the very end of the ridge to grab another game-changing melee weapon. This monstrous edge, much like its weighted counterpart, is a dominating force. The sledgehammer proved to have high stats in both power and stealth, but showed a weakness versus defense. However, the blade of the scythe is so massive that it can actually bypass this defense completely. It can also be thrown, and it will carve through bodies, devastating anything it touches. Move down into the graveyard, past the growing number of headstones until we come across the site of Dude Sr. Dropping a fat piss to complete the errand, the dude is too busy to notice the shovel-wielding rednecks approaching on the rear.
I done busted up his head.
Dude is knocked out and wakes up in an homage to Pulp Fiction.
Bring out the Gimp. The Gimp's sleeping. Well, wake him up then.
Pissing got us into this situation, and now pissing is gonna get us out.
That's the ticket.
Oh my God. Now he's got the
Oh my god, I'm the damn Gimp.
Putting the absolutely horrific implications of this situation to the side, chalk up yet another errand for the to-do list.
Man, I can't go home looking like this. I better go pick up my dry cleaning.
Stripped of both our garments and our weapons, we'll have to fight our way out with whatever we can get our hands on and slowly regain our gear as we progress. This entire section feels a lot more like a traditional linear shooter. A good majority of this area is long corridors and hallways, so the pistol is still our best friend. Its pinpoint accuracy and damage output over large distances is paramount. The gunplay is intense, and fighting against the odds is thrilling, but it's somewhat less interesting from a problem-solving perspective. After the first shootout near the brewing vats, we come across a small platforming section. Leaping over gaps, maneuvering around and across pipes, it feels very Half-Life, but with more crack. Find our beloved scythe and immediately put it to work by stealthily bisecting this enemy in the next room. One solid strategy is baiting enemies around corners. Because enemies will fruitlessly attempt to block your scythe, it renders them unable to do any damage and leaves them completely open to our attack. There is one more enemy to deal with on the upper ledge to the left. Grab the few goodies near the end of the room and move up the stairs towards the conveyor belt. There is actually a checkpoint here that gives you a free save, and is a welcome bonus considering the length of this segment. Crossing this conveyor presents a few more environmental hazards, so be careful to avoid being crushed, rolled, and boiled. In the next room, there are 2 enemies using piles of barley as cover, the forward most of which had a rocket launcher. One strategy to deal with these enemies is causing the rocket to explode as soon as it's launched. You can achieve this with a fully automatic weapon, even firing preemptively to make sure it explodes as soon as possible. The next area, we have a tactically advantageous position over the group below. This, in conjunction with a relatively cramped area, help take out a good portion of them. This conveyor is a little dangerous, as it's, for lack of a better term, sticky? It's similar to the game's ladders, as Postal doo-doos almost magnetize to them, and you don't move freely when you're in contact. Move to one side before stepping on and then jump off at the first level. And behold, another titanic addition to our arsenal, the SMG. While ammunition for the submachine gun is less plentiful, the damage output is excellent. Taking the conveyor belt a further level higher, be ready for a few enemies that will rush around the corner. After that, there is a particularly nasty spot here with a few rednecks behind cover. The amount of objects in this space along with the low ceilings and a hanging pipe makes throwing grenades quite difficult. The several health pipes in this area are a necessity. Further along, there's another walkway and a handful of enemies in the distance. There's a few exploding barrels towards the end which can help turn the tide in your favor. Corner bait this guy with the scythe, take out the enemy directly above, and start climbing this very safe stairwell. We're almost at the end now, just a few more enemies to deal with and...
Fuck.
Fuck! Okay, now we're almost at the end, and we only have one more room to deal with before leaving this horrible place. The walkway ahead of us gets destroyed, so we're forced to descend before we can climb up again. This vantage point makes things a little easier. Move through the doors and this empty area, and then we're finally back outside. Enjoy the fresh air and the open sky, and then immediately leave the area before this amassed crowd notices you. This load zone will dump us on the same road between the mall and the church. To give an example of just how much luck can affect a playthrough of ludicrous difficulty, the first 4 runs of this section, enemies noticed me at every turn, and I was promptly shot to pieces. On the 5th run, not one even acknowledged me, even after throwing the scythe right near someone. Head down the left side of the church and find the same picnic blanket with medkits and ground pizza. But this time we'll also find a can of deodorant that works like a flamethrower, as well as a bass sniffer and a sniper rifle. Crossing the church's courtyard was a little chaotic, getting set on fire from this Molotov and fumbling a panic piss to put myself out. 2 enemies rushed to the door, and since Dude's fly was already down, let rip with another almighty stream to incapacitate them, and then also managed to dodge this redneck's gunfire on the escape. Head to the right along this ditch, and if you couldn't tell already, we're heading back into the same fortified sewer system that brought us here in the first place. You'd think fighting out of a heavily guarded area would be easier than fighting in, but it is somehow more frustrating. The same triggers mentioned earlier spawn in enemies to rush you, but now they come from behind, meaning you can be pinned between 2 sets of enemies. After many failed attempts, a Hotline Miami style rush became the most straightforward solution, downing a can of Cracker Cola for its dual wielding effects and tanking damage as needed. So high was the intensity, it caused this door to glitch momentarily. The remaining enemy in this room managed to fall victim to their own grenade, which was a blessing, especially considering their health remaining, but the 2 medkits on the wall alleviates that. Our new sniper rifle makes easy work of the NPC that spawns in on top of the pipes. With the danger neutralized, ignore the many rockets flying around and traverse these pipes that lead to the next area. The handful of enemies in the sewer might seem difficult, but if there was any doubt about whether it's worth the trouble, this should answer that question. We are now in the forest. The distance from the cemetery to the forest via the sewer is literally here to here. Do you really want to fight through this? Or this? I'll take my chances with the terrorists. As we enter the forest, we'll encounter a cat, and you may be familiar with their more controversial use. We'll be doing no such thing to this poor creature, not yet anyway, as they're more used to us when they're dropped on the ground. When released, cats will turn into a whirling dervish of fang and claw, seeking out any in its path and blending those that it finds. There are many imperfect evergreen conifers scattered about to distract you.
I don't think so.
All are unacceptable substitutes.
Not right.
Atop this mound, we'll find the Christmas tree. Collecting it will complete the errand. However, it also launches a cutscene where, once again, rednecks show up to accost you.
Let's open his Christmas package early, Billy Joe Bob.
This is unfavorable, not only due to the situation, but also the location. We are ambushed in this little corner of the forest. There is shotgun wielders in front of us, and the only way out is through. While it's feasible to shoot our way out, the ensuing chaos will alert other NPCs in the area, further compounding the problem. Since cutscenes are not pre-rendered and are not strictly predetermined, if you were to say, put a bunch of grenades on the ground where these rednecks spawn in, they would be subject to its effects. Even the dialogue stops, meaning the audio is tied directly to these characters, and Dude stands there awkwardly for 30 seconds while nothing happens. This is similar to Monday, where we lit a fire to block the protesters from entering the building. It can be difficult to see your enemies with so much foliage in the area, so use the bass sniffer to get the drop on them. With the tree secured and the initial ambush reduced, it's a pretty straight shot back to the sewer. Jump straight down from the pipe, head left, and then move up the ladder. This will cause some damage as you're shot in the back, but sometimes trading physical health can help keep up the momentum between tougher sections. Besides, your neighbors have armor and medkits just lying around anyway. Moving into the house in front of the trailer, getting hit with a few shots while taking out the enemies inside, and then the neighbor's dog, and then an NPC runs into the room, and then another 2 run past the window. The scythe continues to show its absolute dominion over life and death, with a spectacular double kill at the door. Eliminate 1 more NPC inside and then leap over the pile of viscera and through the window. With the streets now empty, freely move up this little hill and into the small alley behind these stores. Quickly dispatch the NPC outside, as well as the laundromat employee and anyone else inside the building. Kick the vending machines to score a couple of free Cracker Cola power-ups and then move behind the counter to collect the dude's clothes. You can put them on straight away, but it is unnecessary. Dude's health is starting to get pretty slim, so imagine what a fun surprise it was to have every enemy in earshot suddenly rush inside.
That can't be good. Just call me kid. I don't
This double nuke launcher still gives me nightmares, and to really put the pressure on, Dude's medicinal health pipe withdrawal kicked in at that very moment, draining his health all the way down to just 2 points.
Withdrawal is a bitch.
A single stray bullet will reset all of this progression, but there's only one errand left, and it's just across the street. Again, since every enemy ran inside to find the dude, outside is now completely empty. Head across the street and into the back entrance of the Caucasian and show the chef your superior chopping technique. On the upper floor, there are 2 cops guarding the town's only voting booth. Bait the first down the stairs, and finally, throw the scythe at the last enemy to clear the room. Lay down your votes and hope a bill gets passed to limit the access to nuclear weapons, and then it's time to head home.
Looks like the Chad is still hanging on that one.
We could attempt walking back to our trailer, but the state of our health counter will make that quite impossible. Instead, we can trigger the end of the day by heading through a load zone, which is ever so thankfully just outside. And there it is. Wednesday continues to push the limit of what's required of the player. Even with the shortcut in the sewer, the amount of straight shooting sections makes it a difficult run. Simply comment Thursday if you'd like to see another installment of this series. Members get access to exclusive live streams, emotes, polls, and see videos early. You can support for just $2 a month, and I will blow this money on coffee, replica swords, and funny hats.
Do we have any beer? I worked up a killer thirst today.